Hello and welcome to Run Steve Run. Today I'm at Eglinton Country Park parkrun in Irvine as requested by subscriber James Chalmers, and I'm trying to beat my twin brother and running arch nemesis Scott Hare's family course record. Scott's here in person today to defend his current family course record of 25 minutes and 2 seconds, and given the fact that the last time I raced him he beat me by over 2 minutes, he's an opponent to be respected. Well, kinda. On top of that, Alan the Bullet Hare has come out of retirement to make a cameo appearance just for this show. You'll know him from the top of our family course record table as he is the reigning fastest hare and true family champion of parkrun. Scott's record is almost certainly going to fall today, but will it be me who takes it? Will it be Scott? And will I push hard enough to decorate the funnel with my Weetabix like I did last week? You can find it this week on Run Steve Run. As we start, you can see Scott just to the right of me there, in red with his sunglasses on. Certainly the kind of weather to break out the aviators as the sun is splitting the trees here in Irvine. Today we're lucky enough to have a few pacers at parkrun, and I'm going to take full advantage. So my plan is going to be to stick to that 23-minute fella like glue until the last kilometre, and then we'll see what I've got left, which very well could be bugger all. That is of course unless Scott here decides to go ahead of the 23-minute pacer, in which case I will hold on to the back of Scott like a fat toddler holding a Pop-Tart. I've often been told the best tactic is to run your own race, but those tactics got me destroyed by 2.5 minutes at cutting a loop, so I'm going to try something different. We now run past the remnants of Eglinton Castle to the left there. The castle used to be a grand home for the Eglinton and Montgomery families before falling to ruin around 100 years ago. It was then further damaged when the Army and Navy came to Irvine to conduct practice exercises in the 40s and 50s, and was demolished to the level it is today in 1979. It's a shame that such a historic building was left to waste, but that's not the worst thing to happen in Irvine's history, as only a few short years ago Irvine would give birth to one of the most evil running foes in parkrun history, Scott Hare, as it's also the place that Scott and I were born, not in the castle, just in Irvine. I thought about not telling you that because it might be one of the answers to my online banking security questions, but then I remembered there's nothing in my bank account but dust and broken dreams, so I should be safe enough. My target for today is first and foremost to beat Scott. He's returning to form after mild discomfort in his Achilles, which has niggled on and off for him, and it saw him ease off training intensity for a few weeks. A couple of days ago he did go to an event, a 5k similar to this, and managed 22 minutes and 17 seconds, and given my last parkrun was 22 minutes 37 seconds, we should be in for a very close race today. Let's hope he's still fatigued for his last race. Looking at the map for today, we started on that picturesque flat path through the trees, but now we're continuing on to a course of mainly undulating trails and gravel paths. Other than the start, Eglinton is essentially a figure of 8 that starts with a clockwise loop of the bottom section before we do an anti-clockwise loop in the top section, with the finale that sees us returning through the trees to the start line, which will then have magically transformed into the finish line. And as I complete my first kilometre, I'm surprised to say that I'm a full 13 seconds ahead of Scott, so roughly 50 metres in the lead. Tremendous start, and heart rate isn't terrible, slightly above the ideal 180 that I'd like to see after the first kilometre, but this is currently going better than any other first kilometre against Scott that's ever appeared in the channel. I do notice the GPS says the 23-minute pacer is going slightly quicker than expected. He's a wee bit eager this morning, so I'm going to let him drift off a bit over the next half a kilometre so that I don't burn out too quickly. Entering the woods now, and I'm beginning to think that it would have been worth putting on my trail shoes, but I've opted for my Trinusa 15s. Given it's a dry day, they're probably my fastest shoes. They're my lightest shoes for sure. They've actually been made lighter by my big toe that's decided to dig an air vent through the upper. So they're not only lighter than a standard pair, but I also get a wee breeze through my toes as well. End of the second kilometre now, and I'm maintaining my lead. Feeling strong and starting to wonder if, given Scott was racing 2 days ago, whether this pace is a little too sharp for him. We should all remember that I am in fact the big brother here, and this is my rightful place. So in my head, at this point, I'm fantasising about retaking my crown. Scott and I have a wee tradition that whoever is the fastest gets bestowed with the title Alistair, and whoever is the slowest is bequeathed the title Jonathan, and I can't help but start to dream about becoming Alistair for the first time in 9 months. Little did I know, the current Alistair has been slowly catching me over the last kilometre, reducing the gap to a mere 2 seconds. He's essentially right up my hoop and waiting for his chance to pounce. And as we enter the third kilometre, I am still in the lead, although GPS data seems to think that Scott's actually ahead of me. Fortunately, that is not true. I am still dominating my younger, shorter, fatter brat.
Here he is.
Oh no, wait. Here he comes now. Bollocks. Scott must be loving this. He'd later tell me that he had a similar plan to me of sitting around the 23-minute mark and seeing what he had left towards the end of the race. He's still got 2 kilometres left, but obviously he's decided to put pedal to the metal and show his older brother what this young whippersnapper's all about. At this point, I know the only plan can be to dig deep and hang on for as long as I can, hoping that he runs out of energy at some point. Unfortunately, Scott had something different planned. The regular viewers might remember that he tried to nobble my attempts to take his clean course record by employing a dog handler to set a kamikaze collie out in front of me and try to mess up my race. Well, this time he takes it one step further by arranging for a dog to actually attack me. Did you see that? I had to jump that. Fortunately, I did manage to jump over it and make my escape. Heart rate does spike, and I'm a bit shook, but this is going to be the measure of a true champion. Can I settle my heart rate back down? I knew Scott was willing to beat me by any means necessary, but to set a rabid spaniel on me and try to actually assassinate me is beyond the pale, even for him. Entering my final kilometre, GPS shows Scott is now leading by over half a minute. Given the last splits weren't totally accurate, the distance between us may actually be less than that, but I can't see him on the long straights anymore, so he has certainly gapped me by quite a bit. It's going to take a big effort to see me catch him today, but on a positive note, when I raced him at Cunningham in March, I was a full 2 minutes behind him at this point, so definitely closer to his level today. It's not over yet though. Let's see what happens in the final kilometre. And as I cross over the river for the last time, I'm overtaken and pushed down into 20th by this runner who seems to have way too much energy left. Maybe 200 or 300 metres to go, and he bounds up the final hill like a young Labrador with a tennis ball. And all the while, I am truly on the struggle bus, with this wee hill feeling endless. Really struggling there. Heart rate only at 190. I thought I was up about 200 at this point.
Oh, gassed, man.
Yep, I certainly am gassed, and worse than that, I'm facing the realisation that Scott is completely uncatchable today, unless he's lying in a crumpled heap just before the finish line. I live in hope that one day I get to run past Scott as he lays injured, possibly bleeding, and looks up at me to see me run past, shouting, "You can't sleep there." That really would be the dream. But today that's just a fantasy as I enter the home straight. Still want to get the best time that I can, and I am on for a sub 23 if I absolutely smoke the last 100 metres. There's also footsteps behind me and I can hear somebody, but he's going to get past me. Pretty sure that's the third week in a row that I've been smoked in the last 50 metres, but c'est la vie. We come to the finish line in a time of... Well, I don't actually have an official parkrun time because I was in too much of a rush to go and collect my daughter afterwards, and I somehow forgot to scan my barcode like an absolute walloper. Also, I nicked the number 22 parkrun token in the process. Stupid. I've contacted the organisers, but they've not come back to me about returning the token, so I guess I've got a free souvenir. Anyway, fortunately I have it on camera, and my unofficial time was 23 minutes and 6 seconds. Not sure what the 23 pacer had in his cornflakes this morning, but he's definitely gone round a bit sharp. And Scott here finished in a time of 22 minutes and 19 seconds, beating me by a comfortable 47 seconds in the end. Can't be too upset though, that's the first time since I started my channel that I've been able to finish within a minute of him, so definite progress. Well done to James, who finished in an incredible 19:14, completing his 350th Eglinton Park run, 405th park run overall. Outstanding record for a guy who's not even in his 30s yet. Also, shout out to Greg, who came up to say hello at the end too. It was nice to meet you. Next time, it's the biggest race that the channel has ever seen, with 1,400 competitors taking part in the Troon 10k. So lots to tune in for next time. Will I win? Will I be last? Will I end up kneeling on the grass, re-evaluating my life choices?
Fuck.
You can find out next time on Run Steve Run.